Can I?
Honorable Khakhau. Yeah, we are at number 4 now. Yeah.
Chairperson, Vice Chancellor, I want us to engage on your GBV stats. The presentation you gave us gives a clear tabulation of the resolution versus the referral to SEPs. I just need you to quickly, in 2 minutes, give me a breakdown on why all of them weren't all referred to SEPs, what differentiates those that were referred to SEPs and those that were resolved internally. In fact, it also depends on the actual case itself and the investigation that has taken place. And I cut you. I'm going to ask Isma. I really truly respect you, but you've seen there's 10 minutes and I don't have time. So I understand that you had an investigation, and obviously by virtue of there being a differentiation, it means the nature of the investigation is different. But I need you to explain quickly explain the nature. Don't give me the history of what a nature is. Just quickly, the nature of the differentiation. So in case 1, the person withdrew what? Give me that.
I cannot be able to do that to you now because I've given you full numbers. Also, I would now need to go back and say this after the 16 cases in 2024. What happened to each one and why each one was referred to SAPS. I wouldn't know that off by heart.
Please, can I request that you do that in writing, but in that writing, also give submissions for the psychosocial support referrals, because there's a deviation as well. Because in my understanding, if there's 16 cases in 2022, then it means there must be 16 psychosocial supports unless people died or unless people just didn't want to go to therapy or what. So please explain that.
You've just answered it. You can't force a person to go to therapy.
Yes, okay. But then it must be clear from the university side that you referred and the students said no, because from the reading of the presentation, it looks like it says referrals, not referrals accepted, which are 2 different things altogether. So it can be clear. But my interest, number 1, is how, because for me, it doesn't make sense that out of 17 cases that were reported, that only 5 of them were referred to SAPS, because then it means you did your own internal investigation inside, and then that means there was no criminality and that the cases that were reported were not worthy for SAPS to deal and continue with prosecutions. That's why I'm asking. Give it a detail so that I don't assume why only 5 of 17 cases last year were referred to SAPS when the rest were resolved internally. That must make sense. Number 2, SRC President Matsetse. Are the beds fine now as we speak?
I would say that because we had to put pressure, we haven't gotten an indication from the student. So I would assume that they are fine. I don't want to say that they are perfectly fine.
So are you saying since you made a noise about it, there's no other student that has, in your recollection as the executive authority of students, that has come back to you to say,
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
Yes.
So I can safely assume management addressed the issues of Matsetse. It's
I
okay
would
to
assume
say
that because I don't want to speak on behalf of the management.
Fine.
Right?
Okay, that is okay. Again, you spoke about restrictive policies. Apart from the permission to protest, which is a standard across South Africa, even myself as a member of parliament, if I want to launch to the streets, I must apply to the police for doing that. So that's very legal and we must do that within the legals. So what exactly, when you say there are restrictive policies within the institution, what exactly are those so that we can help you deal with them? What are they?
Okay. I think, because
Let me answer.
can the SG answer it because she dealt with it into them?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the question. So when we are talking about the restriction policy, we understand that the one of protest, that we understand that you are saying that it is the standard policy, but we have got the main concern when it comes to policy is that as students we are not even consulted. You will just see, for example, let me give you example with the thing of online voting. they just called a SRC and say that you must have an online meeting, for example. Then after that meeting, we did indicate that we are not sure about this thing if it's going to be good enough for students. Within an hour, we were saying the communique that was saying that in consultation with the SRC, we are going to have an online voting. So all the policies that are in Sifako, most of them, the students didn't raise their voices in them. Residence policies, segregation, and all those kind of things. I feel like they're suppressing the student voice, and they are not fair because we were not consulted. You just receive a call, hey chief, hey, we have got the what that is happening, an online meeting or whatever meeting, and then whatever opinion that you raise, they don't take it.
Okay, thank you, SG. So now you've raised the second matter, ne? The issue of consultation, it's a serious one and it's wrong, particularly if it's going to affect how students are governed every day, how they live, how they enjoy campus life, and how they exercise their democratic right within campus. So you can't just exclude them and think as management you are the gods of the gospel and you know better than them. So that's wrong. But the issue I'm raising here, when I Secretary General, it's separate to the consultation. You mentioned specifically that there are policies that are restrictive. So I want to help you deal with the restriction right now to say what policy is restrictive. Is it what policy number one, and this is how it restricts students so that we can advise on how to make it flexible. That's what I need you to help me with.
Okay, personally, I feel like the very same policy that is restricting the students is the one of student. It is the one which is called a policy and the management of student protest action. Because I feel like it restricts us, because as SRC, we don't even have energy to apply those things and all that, because there is no any other policy that can protect us. Or if maybe these people are not responding to our strike, what should we do? And also, this policy, sometimes I feel like when it comes to students, like this policy, I feel like it's restricting us because it's suppressing our voice.
Okay. SG, I'm sitting here as a former president myself. My goal is to help you. I can't help you do illegal things though, however. So my issue is, if you're going to say, you must be able to help me prove how the policy of the institution is inconsistent with the provisions of the rest of the country as far as demonstrations are concerned. So that I can help and the committee can help you best ensure that management doesn't keep you quiet. So if management is saying, like the university, like the Central University of Technology in the Free State, for example, the vice chancellor thinks it is bogus altogether for people to protest. And the minute you protest, they cover you with an interdict and you must go to court. That is completely wrong. And if that is the case here, then that is what you should be dealing with. But if management is saying, protest all you want, but at least do it within the law so that there's a notice, as we as the political parties, even your own party, the EFF, would know that they must submit a thing before. So can I ask that I give you time to, in writing, to submit through the Secretary General a list of policies that are restrictive, that infringe on your freedoms as students, that infringe on your academic freedom on campus, and then to give us highlights so that we can help advise how to make sure that there's consistency there. That is okay. Okay.
Yes,
Because
I
of-
will do that.
Well, you'll do that. Okay. As far as infrastructure is concerned, DDG Sotikwa, there's a reoccurring theme about infrastructure being a problem within the institution. So I want to get to you. Are you of the opinion that the reason why the institution is unable to maintain and rebuild the infrastructures because either they're not getting enough money, or have you given them money and they've not used it properly?
She's out of the meeting.
Is the mic on there?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Honorable member, the infrastructure problems at SMU in particular are a product of many issues. One of them, from where we are sitting, is poor project management, poor procurement management, poor contract management, and poor oversight. So that's what we've observed. We've engaged extensively. I have an internal project team inside DHET. Myself and DDG Gaza work around infrastructure matters. And we've, you would give SMU deadlines, for example, on the library or the 2,000 bed project. And every time you meet them, so every quarter, every time you meet them, the deadline is extended. Ultimately, we said to our project team, they must go and babysit the SMU staff. Then they would have a revolving door around the directors appointed to oversee infrastructure. So every year, there's a new person appointed to oversee the same project.
GDG, my worry then is I can't be sitting in this meeting hearing the department complaining about their kids, because you are responsible for reprimanding and holding this institution to account. If you are of the opinion that you have had multiple engagements with the institution to try to ensure that there's compliance, make sure that the coffers of this country are protected and used respectfully. So you are supposed to come back to us and tell us, how have you held them accountable? You can't come and complain that they are ungovernable, because when that complaint to me, Chairperson, means you don't have the teeth to bite. That all the department does is to bark, but ultimately you don't have the capacity internally within the department to deal with delinquents.
Chair, I wouldn't say universities are delinquents. I really wouldn't say that. I would say they struggle, and we have intervened. We have project managers who went and literally guided them, but ultimately, universities are autonomous unless the Act gives us the powers to take over the roles of all these executives that sit here. We don't have those powers. We withhold funding, we curtail funding. Sometimes we withhold it to a point we see project updates. More than that, we cannot do.
Just one final one, Chair, I'm just done. Just my
10 seconds.
Yes, 10 seconds. I think this again takes us back to the drawing board, because I'm tired since the previous administration even in this administration to be sitting in the room with DHET and universities and DHET saying they don't have the power to hold institutions accountable, and then institutions come here, they don't even rate us for half a mileage. That's why they don't even respect how they engage with us in honesty, because they know they can't be held accountable. So yeah.
Thank you. We will make our remarks there, because I don't think DDG, our hands are tied in holding these universities accountable. Honorable Shipamba.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to everyone who's here. Chair, I want to fully agree with or welcome the presentations of the students and the labor. And this comes from the experience that, Chair, every time when universities appears before the portfolio committee, the presentations that are going to be made by the either SRCs or the labor, it's always, they are always crying and complaining about how they are being treated by the management of the institutions. So management of the institutions, in the most cases, all institutions that appear before the portfolio committee, always ill-treats the students and the labor forces. And it also worries some when we've got a Department of Higher Education that must hold these institutions accountable, come before us and they say that their hands are actually tied in. That is why these people disrespect the labor and also disrespect the SRCs and the students in particular, because they know that there's no one who can hold them accountable. The department itself, they've actually gave up to say we can't do anything about this issue. I think these things must change, because we can't continue to come to meetings, we sit here, people appear before us, come and lie, like the lies that we just received now from the institutions that is opposed to what the Labour is talking about and also what the SRC is talking about. The newly elected VC, I did not celebrate you or welcome you as the new VC, the chair of the committee that congratulated you and the deputy minister congratulated you. I did not congratulate you because for a fact I know that there were some issues around you being appointed that did not go well. It's not you alone. I mean, it's not Labour alone in the institution that they're actually crying about your appointment. But that is another issue that we will speak and reflect on it at a later stage. CFO, my question to you is that are you aware of the Auditor General findings that were made on the contractor, who's the CCB, and the principal agent, Old Royal Haskoning, that were made by the Auditor General? Are you aware of the findings that were made by the Auditor General of these companies?
There were two findings, I think, from my recollection, Chairperson. The first one was relating to the failure of the management of the project itself to complete on time. That is very correct and accurate, and we accepted that. There was also an issue that was raised that related to the university not fixing the price when they appointed the CCB as a contractor, which we disagreed with because we put evidence to the contrary. Of course, that the CCB had its own problems. That, in fact, I would say, honourable member, that when they started, they were ahead of schedule. Then they started having serious financial difficulties. And the university took a decision to force them to cede the contract to somebody else. And this is the reason why we've had a turnaround now in the delivery of the project.
So, and then around July 2024, the then Vice Chancellor, Professor Mbati, made a recommendation that a comprehensive independent forensic investigations must be made based on these delays of the project. And I hear now that the investigations are ongoing of all corruptions, everything that is happening there is. So my question to you, it will be that since July 2024, after the then Vice Chancellor recommended that there should be this forensic investigations, when did you start conducting these investigations?
Thank you, Honourable Member. Maybe I can just answer briefly on that. In July last year, what happened was the Vice Chancellor did not ask for a forensic investigation. He asked a team of management to look at what were the problems besetting SMU in terms of project delivery. He asked me to be the convener or the chairperson of that committee. In there was the Director of Internal Services, the Director of Built Environment at the time, and other colleagues. I think there were about 7 of us. We gave the report to the Executive Management Committee chaired by the then Vice Chancellor, as well as the Council in the month of September 2024. It diagnosed the problems that we had. The investigation that you are referring to now only came as a result of anonymous letters. And the anonymous letters, like the Chairperson of Council has indicated, are being investigated.
Again to you, CFO, how many service providers were appointed to construct the 2,000 bed students accommodation? And then out of those companies, has the university removed any service provider due to the poor performance or failure to meet the project timelines?
In terms of the main contractors, Chairperson, there are 2 service providers. The first one was CCB, and they were forced to cede the contract to the new contractor who was on a site called Insight Construction. And all the due diligence was done, technical due diligence, legal implications, and due diligence, financial due diligence in terms of their working capital and liquidity. And so far, the university is very happy with their performance. We haven't had any glitches as of now. So there are two contractors that have been appointed to the project. But of course, there are other ancillary service providers that are working on the project.
Do we have any company that was actually held accountable due to the delays or the poor performance in terms of their appointment to construct these beds?
Chairperson, there are a number of employees, for example, who were held accountable for the delays in the 2000 bed project.
Companies.
In terms of the companies, CCB will have had their contract then ceded. That was the action that we took. We also have made charges against them on their performance guarantee. I should indicate, Chairperson, that on that score, our hands are tied. CCB is under business rescue, but we are one of the registered creditors who are making a claim against first the construction, the guarantee, and against CCB itself. So they've been held accountable. There are also concerns around the principal agent, Real Asconing. There is an investigation that is currently ongoing in terms of how they handle the project management side of the project.
Right,
Thank you.
fine. We have been informed, CFO, that the former director of Built Environment, Ms. Yandisa Lekhwase, resigned because you allegedly pressured her to sign off work that has not been completed in order to process payment. Is this true?
That is a lie, Chair. I should indicate that Mel Ngwasa did not resign for that reason. There was an investigation that was commissioned by the then Vice Chancellor, Professor Mpati, which was investigating her herself and myself. It cleared me. She was found wanting on all four allegations against her. She resigned soon after that report came out. So in fact, I can say she ran away from the consequences that will come out of that investigation.
Deputy Chair of the Council, why is the now newly appointed Vice Chancellor, who actually at some point was Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic and Research in September, somewhere around September 2022, if I'm not mistaken, you will correct me. This newly appointed VC, she was once a deputy, right? Of the DVC, and then now you have appointed this VC despite not meeting the advertisement requirements. I'm not done. Your advertisement requirement actually. It was actually saying it needs someone with a 10 years proven experience in academic leadership. 10 years, right? And then and the advert clearly stated this experience must be at the level of a dean, deputy dean, or a head of academic department. And at that time, she did not have these qualifications or these leadership levels that you were actually expecting when she was appointed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Member, let me tell you that the current DPC has met all the criteria that has been stated in the advert. It is not the first time that she is employed by the university. She came to Sefako Makgatho from Cape CPUT. She has 27 years of leadership experience in the academic field. So we scrutinized her. She met the and for your information, the advert was widely advertised in the newspapers. It's not that we just looked at her CV only. It was widely advertised. There were many applicants from various universities, and the shortlist was done based on meeting the criteria. So she met the criteria.
Can you mention one or two of those criteria that you were actually required, and then she was meeting them?
I've mentioned the PhD. I've mentioned the 10 years that we are talking about in academic experience. She met those criteria. Honestly.
These 10 years, she was within your institution or outside your.
It doesn't have to be in our institution. It has to be in the academic field. Not in our institution, because other candidates didn't even come from our institution.
Thank you, Crocodile. There's a CFO, you said there's a report that cleared you and did not clear Ms. Yandi Salengwasa. What was it called?
So the first report that the honourable member referred to, that was commissioned, or that was requested by the then Vice Chancellor. It was presented to Council in September 2023.
What was it called? What is the name?
It was just looking at the reasons why.
Who was conducting it?
At that time, it was an internal report. I was sharing it as a convener. Then the rest
So
of the
you
colleagues.
cleared yourself?
No. No, I'm going there, Chair. The second report I think that you're referring to was done by Maponya attorneys. That's the one that cleared me. The first one was not to.
So the Maponya one?
Yes, the Maponya one. It cleared me.
Took information from the one that you checked?
No, there was no relationship.
So
It
this
was
one
done
is
by
called Maponya attorneys.
Yeah, they were independent from the university.
And then what was, you'll send it to us with the terms of reference of what is it that it was looking at.